Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today you're going to get a sneak peek behind a training I recently did inside my school, which there's a link in the show notes. It's a free community where I teach agents how to sell 3 to 4 homes a month live every Wednesday. You're going to get a sneak peek behind a training I recently did about how to have a bigger, broader vision for your business. I hope it's a blessing to you. If you want the full episode, make sure you click the link, join the school. The whole episode's in there, and we teach live every Wednesday. I hope this blesses you. I'll see you inside the school. So today, as we talk about, as we talk about having a bigger vision, I actually was teaching this maybe a week or two ago, and they just thought it was really impactful. So I thought, awesome, let's teach it here then. Is just to give us kind of a bigger, broader view of what could be in your business. But I'll start here because one of the things I've wrestled with a lot, and for anybody that has known me for a little while, is ambition, right? Ambition versus obedience. And that's been hard. So I'm just going to give a quick comment on that, and then we'll kind of talk about the bigger, broader vision. But in church Sunday, one of the things our pastor was talking about, we were going through Romans, expositionally. And so, but he's talking about Paul, and he just says, here's an example of Paul's holy ambition, right? His holy ambition, that everything he's ambitious about is to make Christ known. And he made a comment that how do you know it's personal ambition, right? Wealth or whatever it is, but a sinful personal ambition. And he said, if at the end of that ambition, everything ends with you, that's how you know it's a sinful personal ambition. And, for me in transparency and confession, that hit me hard because I felt like, man, that is totally true of me. Is so much of my ambition. I feel like the challenge that we have as business owners, as believers, is our personal ambition lines up so closely to pursuing the world that it's really hard to make sure we don't fall into that category, right? And just say, I'm just going to pursue what the world wants me to pursue, right? I'm going to go after more money. I'm going to go after more stuff, a bigger business, whatever it is. And I'm going to do it all in the name of the Lord, but ultimately it's for me. And how easy it is for me to just desire the things that the world has, right? Comfort, ease, all of that stuff. And I'm not saying those things in and of themselves are inherently sinful. They aren't. But the reality of seeking out, Lord, what is a holy ambition? And so I say that just as an encouragement, as a challenge. It's been that to me. I've been listening on repeat a song called, I think it's called One Pure and Holy Passion. If anybody's heard that song, it starts by saying, give me one pure and holy passion. Give me one magnificent obsession. Give me one glorious ambition for my life to know and follow hard after you. And I just as an encouragement, y'all, like that's what this is about. It's made me rethink things. It's made me try to be more consistent and just talking to the Lord throughout the day. I heard on a podcast, a guy said, prayerlessness is a declaration of independence from God. Right? We don't pray because we feel like we've got it figured out, and we don't want to live and operate that way. I don't, and I do too often. So as a confession and an encouragement to you, but I say that to say, going into this, as we talk about how do we have a bigger vision for ourselves, an aspect of that has to always be Psalm 131, David saying, I do not desire things too great or too marvelous for me, but I've calmed and quieted my soul, right? An aspect of seeking out and understanding what is the bigger vision here is saying, Lord, let me not get ahead of what you want for me, but let me be right where you want me to be. We tend to either go too far ahead of the Lord and say, well, I'm going to build out this big, massive bajillion-dollar business, and it's going to be amazing, and then all this stuff. And we just kind of tell the Lord, this is what we're going to do. And, don't ask him. And then I think these are obviously extremes. And I think the other side is we show up and we're like, you know what? I don't want to work that hard. I don't want to try that hard because I don't want to just love money too much. And I don't want to be one of those people that just wears myself out in work and blah, blah, blah. And truthfully, that's actually laziness, right? That's a lack of godly ambition to just be less than what he's called us to be. None of us know, again, the parable of the talents, as I was praying, There's the 10 talents, the 5 talents, the 1 talent, right? And the one guy, he buries it in the ground. None of us know. And I know they're talking about money, but again, from a skill set stewardship perspective, none of us know. Are we a 10 talent guy? Are we a 5 talent guy? Are we a 1 talent guy? We don't know. But what did Jesus say? Or, in the parable, the business owner, what did he say to the 5 talent and the 10 talent guy? They doubled it, right? The 5 talent guy made him less. He made him half. But what do you say? Well done, good and faithful servant. Right? He gave them something. They stewarded it well. We're not supposed to be the same, right? We're not supposed to all have the same opportunity, skill set, vision, whatever, but we are supposed to steward it well. And there's just such a balance. This is why we need to live in community. There's such a balance of how do I biblically pursue and ambitiously, godly pursue the best possible business that I can have. To the glory of God. None of us are going to get that right. But anyways, as an encouragement. So I wanted to talk about that. Hopefully that's a topic that will be of service to all of us. And feel free to interrupt or pitch in or share whatever you want. And if you're a podcast listener, you might get on the podcast because I'm playing clips of these because I thought they were helpful. And so Andy, Tracy, Monica was just on the podcast that will come out in a couple weeks. Brian, Rashinda, Garrett's note taker who's on here, you can also get on the podcast as well. So let's talk about this. And I'm gonna present it. And again, you all tell me which way you want to go, but I'm gonna present it in the perspective of what's possible in our business. Okay. What I find is if you're a 20 to 25 deal a year agent, if you're 20 to 25 deals per year, you're in probably the hardest spot in all of real estate from my perspective. Why? Because I think you're still a solo agent. You're running the show. You are probably working a lot of hours. You don't have a lot of leverage on your time. Not a lot of leverage. You also don't have a ton of extra capital that you think you can expend to get leverage, right? To me, this agent is a very productive, very good agent. If you're fewer than 20 to 25 deals a year, that's a good goal to shoot for. Now, again, there's so many things wrapped into that. If that means you don't get to spend time with your family, like forget the 20 deals. But there's ways to do this, right? At a high level. If you're 10 to 15, to 20 to 25 is a great goal. You're one of the top 10% of agents, maybe 5%. You might know better than me, Monica, but not a lot of agents doing that many deals. That's a really good business. The danger is we often get stuck here. And the danger is at 20 to 25 deals a year, most of the words and the language that's out in the real estate space is you've either got to go to 50 deals a year, you got to start investing in these lead sources, you got to start scaling, you got to do all this stuff, or you just stay there and you run out the clock, right? And you kind of just stay right there. And I don't like that as the options, right? I'm a Keller Williams agent by trade, was there for 10 years, loved every minute of it, so grateful for so many things. And as many of you who are here on the call or maybe listening, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book has been a game changer for a lot of agents. If you haven't read it, pick it up. But he talks about the 7th level team. So I'm going to assume you all don't know what that means. The 7th level team, right? Basically what that is, the way Gary Keller describes it is, it's a real estate team that has, multiple admin, multiple agents. And the goal here is you are out of production, right? You have this relatively large business and you have a CEO who's running it. So now you essentially turn it into as passive as it can be. And you got this big, massive machine, right? Makes sense. From the business side, makes sense. My question is for anybody on this call, and I'll share my own experience, but my question is, does anybody know someone running a 7th level team? You do, Andy? So they're completely out of production. Yeah. Can you pop on and tell us?
The team I started on, the Reigns Group in Columbus, Ohio. And then another agent that I know of here, she's actually in MREA. Is one of the people that was studied for that. But yeah, it's not very common, but I know a few.
That's awesome. Very cool. Monica, you don't? Monica's a coach and coaches a bunch of people, and you don't know anybody in that 7th level?
Sorry about that. It is so rare.
Yeah.
So rare. I do know a couple, but I'm not like close in tight with them.
Yeah. You just know who they are.
Rare. Yeah, it's rare.
Yeah. So that's what was fascinating with me, right? Is I think here's what happens in the industry. If you're 10 deals, if whatever it is, everyone says like, here's the natural progression. Maybe you start on a team and then you become a solo agent and then you hire an admin and then you build a team and then you keep building a team and hopefully one day you get out or you move on to coaching or whatever it is. Like, here's the pathway that you can have. And for me, that's what I was doing. I was kind of following that pathway, right? I think I was 28 when I did my first year of selling 50 homes and I had an admin. I had one full-time admin at the time. And so what was told to me was, all right, now you got to go build a team. And so I said, okay. And I just started doing what everybody told me to do. I had 3 extra agents. I had 3 full-time admin. I mean, I had almost 200 grand of salaries. And looking back, like, what was I doing? I didn't know what I was doing. I was just following what the path was supposed to be for me. Well, I started in 2018. I started what's called the Think Bigger Mastermind. So I was leading this group of agents in Virginia and North Carolina. It was the top teams in all of those, in both of those states. We had 30 agents represented. It was $750 million a year. I mean, we were fortunate. Like, I brought Gary Keller he zoomed in. I interviewed him for everybody. Mark King, who was the president of Keller Williams. This was Keller Williams only at the time. Excuse me. We had some heavy hitters in the room, right? I was a pretty small one. I just wanted to be in the room, so I started the room or I wouldn't have gotten invited. So I started this group, and it was an amazing group, amazing people. But here's what I started to realize is I was on the path. I was behind everybody else pretty much in that room. But all of these super successful agents, none of them were at the 7th level. They're all trying for it. They're all trying to get out of production. None of them had done it. And then what I started to realize was, I'll give a very clear example. At the time, I only had 2 agents and I had 1 admin. So I had scaled down a little bit. I looked at my buddy, right, who was in the Think Bigger Mastermind with me. Awesome dude. He was one of the top 5 teams in all of Virginia. Here's what they had: 30 agents and they had 10 admin. Here was the craziest part. I made more money than he did every year. Right? The profitability of his team was much lower than the profitability of my team. His stress and his headache was much higher than my stress and headache. The complexity of his business was much more complex than the simplicity of my business. And so I started to look at these things and I said, it doesn't mean that my buddy over here is not going to get to that point. What it meant was, man, do I really want to go through all of those steps to actually get to that point where I'm out of production? Is that the kind of business that I want to have? And the answer for me was absolutely not. So my reaction to that was, I had relegated myself, and this is where we get into a bigger vision for ourselves. I had relegated myself to say, you know what? I'm just going to stay at this like small middle level team and I'll just run it forever. And it's good. Like, I don't work that much. I don't have to deal with too many things. It's okay. I'll just stay here forever and I just won't get out of production, and that's okay. And I had accepted that as fact, right? Because on the 7 levels, I was on like the 3rd level, whatever. I don't honestly remember which ones they are. So I just kind of accepted, okay, I'll just stay right here. Right? I'll just be this mid-level team, small team, whatever. Will be mostly productive, but it won't be too complex in X, Y, and Z. Well, then I started to realize, and many of you know my story, but then I realized I don't want to give away all my free time. I don't want to build a big team. I don't want to have all this time. I want to get out of production, meaning, for anybody listening, meaning I don't want to have to be the agent doing the actual sale, right? I want to find the people to do it. And no one had a model for me. Doesn't mean it's not out there. I just never found one. Where's the model for me to say, how do I build a business that allows me to step away, but still bring in really good income, right? How do I do that? Is that possible? Or am I relegated to just sell homes for the rest of my life until I choose not to? Is that my only option? And that's what I thought it was. And so it set me on the path to say, I got to figure out a way. I got to get out of production. So I'm not telling all of you right here, I'm not saying your job is to get out of production. What I am going to show you is this is how you do it without selling 100 homes a year. This is how you do it without generating 50 deals a year. This is how you do it without bringing in a bajillion leads off cold calls and buying leads and all the things. This is how you do it to give you a bigger, broader vision, to know that your end goal doesn't just mean that you're going to sell 20 homes for the rest of your life or 50 homes or 10 or whatever. That's not your only option. Your only option is not to grow a big, massive team or stay right there in the middle and just live it out every single day until you stop. That's not your only option. In fact, there's a much better way, and I'm going to show you that. So for me, I had to say, okay, how do I get out of production? I've been 100% referral from day one. How do I get out of production in that mindset? Because everyone had told me, they told me first, it wasn't possible to sell that many homes by referral. And thankfully, in the Lord's kindness, I proved them wrong. And then they said, there's no way to build a team working only by referral. And thankfully, I was able to prove them wrong. And so here's what happened for me. I said, you know what? And this is the mindset. Again, we're going to get to this bigger vision for yourself in this business. What I think the challenge is, a lot of agents say, I see these top team leaders, right? They're working their butt off. They're super smart. They've invested. They've done all this stuff. They're spending a ton of money. That's not me. I guess this is just who I'm going to be. I'm going to be down here. It's not true. Right? It's just not true. So I looked at myself and said, Garrett, what do you like? And I said, I like simplicity. I hate complexity. And most of it is I'm just not smart enough to operate in a complex system, being totally honest. That's not even self-deprecating, though I am. That's just true. I can't operate in a complex system. So what do I like? I love simplicity. Okay, what does simplicity look like to me? Right? You got to ask yourself this question. What does simplicity look like for me? For me, that meant I only want to have one agent, and I want to have a TC. That was it. And so I said, that's simplicity. Can I get out of production at that? Right? Because no one said that I could. In fact, everyone said that wasn't possible. So I just said, how do I do that? Because simplicity to me is basically becomes like the operator of the business eventually. And the TC was paid per deal, so they became a variable expense, not a fixed expense, meaning in January, if we don't have a closing, I don't pay them anything, right? How do I do this? How do I make this simple? And so I started to think about that and realized, okay, I want to get out of production. I don't want to have to keep running. I don't want to be stuck between this mid-level team and a big team and whatever. None of it was going to get me there anyways. And so then I said, what's the problem? Why have I never seen anybody do that? And here was the problem. Everyone was trying to find this A to A plus player who was this agent, and no one could get them. They didn't exist, right? In the world of a team leader. They're like, where's this elusive A to A plus talent agent who will join my team? That doesn't make sense. And so I started coaching these teams, and I started coaching these other businesses. And I said, well, help me understand what you're doing. And they ran into this problem. Again, I'm going to show you how you do this, and it's really simple. They ran into this problem. They had two problems. The first problem was the team leader, the TL, stayed in production and stayed the big dog, meaning all of the deals, all of the recognition, all of the awards, all of those things were them. It was just about them, right? An A to an A plus talent says, if I'm going to crush it for you, I'd also like some of the accolades too, right? That kind of personality is a high driver. They want to crush. They want to sell a lot of homes. And you need that kind of personality. So the problem was the team leader was staying in production. Team leader was saying, I need you A plus talent, but I'm going to keep most of my own deals. I'm just going to teach you how to go get a bunch of deals. And by the way, it's my name and it's going to be my team. And even if they're humble, it's still about that individual, the team leader. And so they kept wondering, how am I not getting these A to A plus players? I'm getting a bunch of C to C plus players a lot of times, or I'm getting an A player, but they leave me really quickly. One of the problems was they were still in production. It was still about them. The other problem was their business, in my opinion, was poorly run. And I don't mean that in a mean way. What I mean is they misunderstood the numbers. Okay. So when I started to think about this, I thought, okay, how in the world I have a problem? How do I get an A plus player? How do I get an A plus player who wants to stay with me long enough where it's not, every team has a problem of major turnover, right? How do I get an A plus player that wants to stay? That's really the problem. How do I solve that problem? And then it allows me to get out of production. Here's what every single one of you on this call has the capability of doing. Okay. It is the easiest thing in the world. It is genuinely the easiest thing. A big part of my passion is helping agents who think they're stuck figure out a way how to get out of production if that's what they want to do. And meaning by out of production, I mean, you get to choose more of how you spend your time. That's what I mean, right? You might go and say, you know what, I'm going to go turn in and I'm going to generate more deals, right? That's how I'm going to spend my time. You might say that, you know what, it's been on my heart to launch a nonprofit or to do mission work. Great, I'm going to go do that. You might say it's time for me to spend more time with my kids. Great, I'm going to go do that. And we often say that's our heart in real estate, but my business is in the way. Let's take that off the table. Let me show you this better way. So here's all I did. Number one, and here's why, as a Christian agent, hear me, you have a unique advantage here. You have a very unique advantage here because of Christ and who he is and what he has done for us and the work of the Holy Spirit in our heart. We actually have the capability, not always do we do it well, but we have the capability of the humility required to get out of the way to solve this problem. Hey, Christian agent, I get it because I am just like you. You got into this business for more time, money, and freedom, but how is that going? Maybe like me, you found yourself succeeding more often, but missing out on more family dinners. Or maybe you've been wondering this whole time, why are you working your butt off but not making any progress? Or you continue to see the people up on stage who you know lost their marriage, but they sold a lot of houses, so they get celebrated anyways. Well, the truth is, in 2 Corinthians, the Bible tells us to not be unequally yoked. We get so caught up in following the world's way that we forget to follow the Lord's way. And that's why I launched the 210 Collective at EXP, so Christian agents all over the globe could finally be in business together. We could finally be more excellent together, and we could finally be encouraged to set the right priorities and honor God by honoring our families above our work. So if you're ready to take your business to the next level and you want to learn, grow, and connect with other Christian agents, I'd love to talk with you. Head over to 210collective.com/podcast or click the link in the show notes to text me directly and book a call. You're not going to be talking to some member of my team. You'll be talking with me directly, and I promise to shoot you straight. I'd love to talk to you how we can get you plugged into an amazing community of agents who share your values and vision. So click that link in the show notes. Text me, set up a time to chat. I would love to connect with you. Until next time, keep building your business with purpose and faith.